Hi, everybody. I'm John Jerkowitz. I am a career development coach and consultant. I work with entrepreneurs, small business owners, and anyone who wants to enhance the quality of their life through their career or business. I own a company called New Career Creations. Enough about me. I recorded this video today to give you an overview on how to create an effective presentation. You see, more and more in today's world, we're called upon to present. You attend a networking event, they call it an elevator speech or a cocktail line. You pay a bunch of money to sponsor an event, and you're able to get up there and talk for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half hour. It's a nice marketing tool, whether it's for your business, product, or service, or it's for you and your career. Gives you an opportunity to share in front of a whole group of people for a very small investment, if you do it right. Okay, little bowl of honesty time. One of the things that holds us back when it comes to giving presentations is that we're insecure. There's very few of us who never met a camera they didn't like. Most folks don't necessarily relish speaking to a group of people, even if that's a group of 7 people sitting around a table at kind of a speed dating networking event, or senior executives in a boardroom with an important presentation to increase funding for your department. Our palms get sweaty, our heart beats quick, and we say, oh, good Lord, why did I get myself into this? But the reason I'm here today is to help provide you with the structure. So I'm not going to tell you how wonderful you are. I'm not going to tell you to go stand on the front lawn with your BFFs and sing We Are the World. I'm not going to suggest you have a passion for what you do. If none of those things are there, you really don't need to be watching this video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to help you create a very simple structure. Now, I'm not going to fill the structure in the video. This is an overview. So let's get started, because your time is really valuable. So I'm going to share my screen here for a few minutes, and that takes a second or two to do. There we go. It's a guide to creating an effective presentation. Again, it's an overview, and I'm your host. That's all we're going to say about me. I want to make sure you walk away with some practical tools. I want to do a little bit of history first. Just a little bit, if you'd indulge me. If you look at the slide in front of you, this was a very typical form of how we shared presentations for many, many years. We wrote a whole bunch of information down, we organized it, and then we stood in front of people either using our finger, a wooden stick pointer, or when we got really cool, a laser pointer. And what we did is we took information and we opened people's heads and we poured it in. And people sat there wondering why they had to come to this presentation, or how soon was this going to be over. True story, I did a leadership seminar, 6 or 7 years ago, where a guy came up to me. We were going to be together for 2 days, and I knew him pretty well. He said, I just got one question for you. This is not going to be a bunch of bullet points on a PowerPoint slide, is it? Well, fortunately, it wasn't. Okay, so that's where we started, but here's where we're at today. We're at live streaming. There's a number of social media platforms that give you and I the great opportunity to put ourselves out there simply by pressing a button on our phone, our tablet, our laptop. Who knows what's next? And I think it's wonderful, because I can tell you, even 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to afford the technology to do what most of the gurus were doing back then. But here's the rub. we're still using the flip chart mentality. We're spewing out information, throwing it against the wall, and hoping some of it sticks. I want to teach you a different way. First of all, this is kind of our reaction when we're asked to give a presentation, especially if it's not something we do every day of the week. Now, I'm going to preface this remark by telling you I am not trashing the gurus. What I'm going to tell you is they do this every day of the week. I've recorded this video 4 times before I was satisfied with the quality and the content. You're asked to get up and give a presentation at a staff meeting, or you're asked to share an experience you've had at a networking event, or you're creating your 60-second cocktail line or elevator speech or whatever you choose to call it. And what you do is what we all do. You sit down at your device of choice and you tap in effective presentation, and you get some videos of some very heavy hitters. And you go, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I can't walk across the stage comfortably. I can't do that. Okay, but you're not being asked to. What you're being asked to do is share a particular piece of info. Let's learn how to do that. First of all, we live in a monkey see, monkey do world. So we look around and we say, gee, the best presentations I saw, Sally Jones, Joe Smith, oh, they were just really great. I need to copy that. Well, as long as it fits your structure, it's going to work. But in the most cases, what we try to do is copy another person, and we fail miserably. And I'm not throwing stones at you. And I'm not saying they're better than you. I'm saying they're not you, and you're not them. There's a whole bunch of stuff in this world that I know I'm not proficient at, and I won't even attempt doing it. But I know there's a whole bunch of stuff I do really, really well. So as soon as we're asked to give a presentation, many of us automatically begin to compare ourselves to those people who we see as being stars. Okay, we have 3 reasons to present. The first reason is to instruct or to teach. The second is to inform. The third, I think, is the most important. It's to create a relationship. It's to create a bond between you and I. It's wanting you to know more about me, because that's the most important part of giving a presentation. And that's what a presentation should be structured around. How can I create a relationship with you? All right, I'm going to use a dirty word here. It's the S word. Then I'm going to use the M word. Sales. Money. We've kind of sanitized that in the networking world of the mid-2000s, second decade. We don't want to talk about sales. We're not here to sell. I'm here to create relationships. You're here to sell. You're here to market. But it's not going to happen until you create a relationship. And simply talking about your product and service, even though it may be the greatest thing in the world, is not going to move somebody to do that. They're not going to buy instantly. You have to create a relationship. Now, instructing and informing helps. What most of us do is we create an informational presentation. We might take our company's literature, and we might, and I've seen some of them, somebody just reads them back to us. It kind of tell us how long the company's been there. They can tell us who runs the company. They can tell us they got a lot of clients. They can tell us what they do. They can tell us how it'll help us. But if you notice, if you're very perceptive, you notice I've changed the 3rd point on that slide. And it's to create a shift in perception. So we've gone from creating a relationship to creating a shift in perception. And most of us, myself included, I am guilty of this probably 40% of the time. I want to create information. So that's kind of the foundation. Let's look at the anatomy of an effective presentation. The first thing you want to do is grab people's attention. And the way you can do that depends on you. One of the things I like to do is say, hey, can somebody tell me what a really good introduction in a presentation or a speech is? And if I have a legal pad with me, or a lot of times I have an intern with me, and I'll ask them to write it down, write down, and then I'll review. So Bill felt that a good introduction included this. And Jane said, you know, people love to be called by name. And once I start doing that, I'm going to engage the group of people. Okay, but John, what if nobody answers me? Trust me, I've had that happen. Everybody kind of sit there like, okay, how long is this moron going to be up here talking? So I'll say, hey, can somebody share a really good introduction they heard? And they'll say, yeah, I was at this meeting and this guy came out and he lit off fireworks. And well, how did you feel about that? Okay. Oh, I thought it was really great. Anybody else had an experience like that? Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay. How did you? I didn't like it. I thought it was corny. It was canned. It wasn't the reason I was there. Okay. So how do we decide? All right. So now all of a sudden, instead of presenting, I'm discussing. And once I discuss, and once I call you by name, I've engaged you. I've got your intention. What's the next thing I want to do? I want to give you a sneak peek. Look, I'm going to tell you, there's a big school of thought that says, don't do this. Don't let them know what you're going to do. Baloney. Okay? I want to engage you. I want to get your attention. And then I want to tell you what we're going to do, because you're sitting there going, this is the real reason I came. He is going to talk about blah, blah, blah. Thank goodness. Right? I wasn't quite sure. I'm going to pay attention so I make sure I don't miss it. So your introduction needs to get my attention, and it needs to give you a peek, a sneak peek, if you will, at what's about to come. Segues are real important, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on them because that's a presentation all unto itself, but you need to kind of flow. So now that I've given you a sneak peek, I'm going to talk to you about the body. So we've had the introduction. Now we're talking about the body of our speech. And the body's where we make our case. It's where the rubber hits the road. It's where I tell you why what I do is so important, and more importantly, can be valuable to you or to your company or to your family. Maybe I'm a not-for-profit. Maybe I'm up there talking about that we want to keep the lights on. And I need to tell you to make my case as to why we need to do that, because this is the audience. This is the group we serve in our community. And I'm going to do that by using the power of three. And the power of three says, I don't know who came up with this, okay? 3 bullet points. And the first one of those points should be the most important. Now, I've spent time with some wonderful people who've taught me how to write copy and get by. Right? And one of the things I learned is short, sweet, and to the point. Don't write 25 sentences. I'm going to try to challenge you to do no more than 6 words. And the first bullet point should be the most important thing. So if you're a not-for-profit and you need funding to keep your facility going, the first thing you're going to say is, we have 60 days of cash left, and after 60 days, we're going to have to close the door. After 30 days, we're going to have to start laying staff off. Okay. Grab me. Tell me 3 things. Why should I learn to do web design? Well, because I want to do graphic marketing. You can kind of fill the blank in there. So you've made your case. You've given me 3 major points, 5 to 6 words long, maybe not much longer. If they're 7 or 8, I promise I won't turn you into the copywriting, please. You've introduced your topic. You've made your case. And now it's time to call for action. You want me to act now. What do you want me to do, John? Well, let's stay with the not-for-profit just for a minute, okay? I'd either like you to buy tickets to a fundraiser. I'd like you to write a check as a contribution. I'd like you to volunteer your time and service. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, or you're a healer, or you're a consultant, and you're offering a program, the call to action, the conclusion is, here's what's next. Here's what I want you to do, because by now I've laid the groundwork, told you what we were going to talk about. Then I told it to you. And now I'm throwing the ball in your court. I'm asking you. It's a call to action. I didn't do this to entertain you. I didn't do this because I had nothing better to do. I did this, I'm sharing this with you because fill in the blank. And that's a really difficult thing to do, and along with segues between your 3 areas of presenting, introduction, body, and conclusion, the call to action even makes my mouth dry to this day, and I've been running my own business for 18 years. My little chubby heart starts going thump, 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 thump. It's why people stick around and talk to us afterwards. I had 2 clients who started a really cool business. I purchase presentation time at a local chamber of commerce 4 times a year. Gives me an opportunity to talk to over 100 people. It's a good investment. One of the things I did this year is I let some of my newer clients, my newer businesses, take my 10 minutes and talk. And I got up and introduced them and kind of went through a little bit of how we did this, and that. And I'll never forget, I had 2 people who started a business got up there, and they started talking, and they had gotten some pens and business cards and everything else. And at the end of their presentation, when the networking event was over, nobody came up and talked to them. Nobody wanted to know. Nobody followed them out into the parking lot. Nobody said, hey, can we have a cup of coffee? Can we do a one-to-one? And the reason for that is there was no call to action. There was no, we'd like to come to your business, or we'd like to take an opportunity. Now, remember I talked about sales and money? Well, this is kind of the precursor. This is kind of like, can I come over and sit on your front porch before I ask you to go on a date with me? Sorry, I'm old school. That call to action is really important, because you can have a whiz-bang presentation, but if you don't put a call to action in there, I'm going to go and say, boy, that John guy, he's pretty damned entertaining. Let's remember 3 things, and we're almost done. The first thing to remember is don't read. If you've noticed throughout this presentation, I've used very few words. What I've done is I've used pictures or graphics to make a point, to share, to educate, and inform you. Those will stick with you longer than my words. Second thing is involve your audience. And the third thing is practice, practice, practice. 4 times I recorded this video before I was satisfied with the quality and caliber of it to share it with you. One last thing. I keep telling you this is the most important thing. I guess I got a dozen most important things. Be yourself. Be who you are. Don't make the mistake of looking at all these videos of people giving wonderful presentations and try to mimic their style, because people will get up, walk out to the parking lot, say, you know, he sounds just like her, or he sounds just like him. Wasn't that funny? And what they're saying in the back of their mind is, you're not him, you're not her. Create a style. Be comfortable with your style, but most importantly, be yourself. Want to know more? Here's where you can contact me. Here's who I am. This is what I do. If some of this resonated with you today, then I would really appreciate you getting in touch with me, and I would love to sit and talk with you. Okay. So we've stopped sharing our screen. One of these days, I'm going to be able to do that without people seeing the top of my little bald head. I'm John Jerkowitz. I own a coaching and career development company called New Career Creations. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it for the 4th time. And I'll see you soon. And reach out. Contact me. I'd love to talk with you. So stay tuned. There's much more to come.